Yeah, and you can cut out anything you guys need to. Obviously, I do tend to get mildly inappropriate at times, which Caleb's aware of.
That was very appropriate.
I could have gone way worse.
Yeah.
That chick was so gross, man, by the way.
Welcome to the Flymen Fishing Show, where we talk fly fishing, fly tying, and everything in between. I'm your host, Scotty Davis. Our guest this afternoon is Brita Fordice from Washington State. She is a fly designer and a fishing guide. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So how's the weather out there? I know up out in the east, it's brutal bad.
It's, it's sunny today, but it's been so crappy for so long that we're kind of numb to it, really.
Yeah, between that and the virus, I guess it's just a little much.
Yeah, we're all locked in. It's pretty depressing no matter what.
For sure. So are you from that area? You from the Northwest?
Yeah, I'm from Washington. I grew up in Washington. After college, ADD, I guess you could say, took me to Idaho and then Alaska and then back down to Washington.
Nice.
But I've stayed here since.
Very cool. Where in Alaska were you?
I was in Anchorage.
Cool. So you went to Chilkoot Charlie's and Humpy's
and
all those good establishments. I spent a lot of time up there, and I didn't really like to stay in Anchorage too much, but as soon as I could get in there, those were my places. And the Moose's Tooth pizza, I could keep.
Moose's Tooth is my favorite. It's the only salad I like.
Oh yeah,
ever in the world. Like, it's the best.
Yeah, the only salad. That's a bold statement.
It is. It's really important. I mean, I don't eat stuff that looks like.
How long were you up there?
I was up there for almost 2 years.
Nice. So you spent the winters too?
I spent the winters up there too.
Nice.
Yeah, the liquor store guy he knew me by name.
For sure.
we used to, my roommate and I used to rebuild old FJ Fordice.
Nice.
We used to buy them and then rebuild them and sand out all their rust and sell them to people up there. It worked out really well.
Very
nice
cool.
Side gig.
Nice.
Yeah.
You didn't drive up there, did you?
I did, yeah. And that's how I ended up there. Is I was kind of stuck after the first snow, and I was like, oh shit, now I'm here for good. Wow.
I was going to do it one year in the MapQuest or whatever I did. The halfway point from Charleston to Anchorage was Vancouver, British Columbia. So that was the halfway, and I was like, I just can't do that. It can't be done.
No.
It would be, I think I said it was a 105-hour drive total. So,
oh my God.
And it was only an 8-hour flight for $400.
Yeah. It's a lot better to fly at that point.
For sure. Well, what got you started guiding or fishing for that matter?
I started when I was little.
Yeah.
We had a cabin up on the Stillaguamish River, which used to have a lot of steelhead in it, like all other Washington rivers. And so I started fishing up there then, and then I taught myself to tie, and kind of just went downhill from there, I guess.
Right.
Once I moved back down to Washington, I was like, okay, I could bartend.
Right.
And I can fish. So let's figure out something with that, because God knows I'm not going to use my degree from college in any regard.
Yeah.
So I ended up working at the fly shop Avid Angler in Seattle at that time.
Nice. That's almost identical to what I did. I was a bartender for 15 years and I guided during the day. And I was in college for 7 years for a philosophy degree. So
Jesus.
Didn't use that much.
Yeah, I would say the bartending background probably comes more in handy than the rest.
It helps with the guiding for sure.
Yeah,
you can deal with about any people. So and how long have you been guiding?
I started guiding and hosting trips in like 2007-ish, but really guided like a fair amount, pretty much full time, from 2013 on.
Okay.
And then I got hired to work at Rio to do the designing for flies for them. So I still guide. Last year has been real slow.
Yeah.
But I just do it basically to supplement income, if you will.
Yeah. Farbanks and Rio, that's a great company. There's some great people that work there.
Yeah.
You live close to Bainbridge Island?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I live close to Bainbridge. Don't live on Bainbridge because no one can really afford to live on Bainbridge easily. I live in the more ghetto area outside of Bainbridge.
Right. So you said you hosted trips. Where were you doing that?
Most of it was just local stuff. I mean, we did Louisiana, and I did Florida Panhandle a few times, and then the rest of it was like Eastern Washington lakes and things like that, like little pay-to-play stuff for a day or so.
Yeah. So what type of guiding are you focusing on now, or before COVID?
It's Puget Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did steelhead in streams in Washington, but then it's a lot of cold, wet, nothing.
Right.
So it's a lot better to do Puget Sound.
Yeah.
At least you're getting fish then when you're cold and wet. So it's like, why not?
Yeah. Is that off the beach too? You can wade.
Yeah, off the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do boat or beach. I actually prefer beach just because you could wander around. I like to sit there. I have a long handled net, so I'll sit there and while I'm just talking to people, put it down in the sand and like try and kick my legs up and see if I can balance. So
they should make a big net that would convert to a little sitting chair like that.
For sure, a hammock or something.
Yeah.
Eventually there's going to be avocados growing too on all the Washington beaches, I've decided, because that's like my go-to guide lunch is taking those and feeding people with guacamole.
Yeah.
I throw the seeds every time when I'm done. So like I keep expecting to see an avocado tree growing somewhere on a beach, but I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, so. maybe a beach somewhere, Pacific side or somewhere.
It's probably not going to be in Washington.
Yeah, right. So that's your obviously what you like doing is the Puget Sound. Is that mainly? I've never fished there. I fished Alaska, but never got to go to Washington. Yeah. Is that like I know you got cohos, you get king run too? Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we get king year round. We have silver or coho, and then we have blackmouth or kings that are every year a certain percentage of our salmon never leave Puget Sound. So they don't actually get really, really huge by going out to the Pacific and coming back. And so we end up with them here and they're like footballs on fire. They just go nuts. Nice. It's super fun. And then sea run cutthroat trout.
Yeah. And the kings will even come that close to the beach like that?
Oh yeah, because they're hitting all the bait fish that everything else is hitting, and so they'll come right in and pound them. I've had people catch fish that were really decent size in like ankle deep water.
You said that's a year-round fishery for the kings?
It's a year-round. You could catch and release all year round, and you can get migratory kings in the summertime as well. And those are the big ones. That's essentially a shit show. Let's put it that way.
Bunch of people.
With hermit hooks. Yeah, when nobody's out there doing it. That's the thing, because it's hard to get them. And so you're usually fishing a 6-weight for cutthroat, and people will hook into a king usually about once or twice a year, and it's a big one. And they there's a lot of swearing, a lot of running, flying, water everywhere.
It's good for Rio fly line sales too.
Yeah, totally.
So how long have you been designing for Rio?
Since 2016.
Yeah.
Patrick Kilby and he used to manage Idlewild back in the day. And they had both of us there and had us we decided to initially have no signature tires, but Patrick and I, so we designed all the signature Rios flies. So if they have Rios in front of them, one of us designed them.
Very cool.
And it's been fun. I love it. It's a blast. Naming flies is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I saw some good ones that you and Josh Boyles came up with. Those were comical. How do you know him? How do you know Josh?
So I met him just basically because of Raz Reed.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, everyone knows Raz. Yes, he's so nice.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it for Rio especially, we don't know everything with flies. Like I could tie flies and design them, but I don't know the right weight proportions for where, depending if I don't know the fishery.
Right.
And so we're the first to be like, I need help in that area. So Josh came in and was really, really awesome in helping out and making sure that we sort of had the background and street cred to actually do a good redfish fly for his area, because otherwise I don't know it as well.
Yeah, I designed a redfish fly for a different company, and I had to fight with them on the weed guards. They kept coming back, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh, it's 10 pound." I was like, "Well, I asked for 30 pound." They sent me another one like, "This is 12 pound." I'm like, "That's getting warmer, But you can't. It has to, like you said, it's got to be right for that area.
Yeah, and it's a nightmare dealing with some of the factories. That's why it's nicer when it's us, because we don't have the middleman. Like you used to have to go back to whoever it was that you were dealing with, and then they were having to convey it onto the factory.
Right.
Whereas with Patrick and I, we're like, it's our pattern, so we could figure it out if it doesn't work.
Yeah. So are you doing the freshwater stuff too, or mainly the salt?
I'm doing freshwater stuff too, streamers and stuff. Chironomids. Oh, I love chironomids. I'm sitting there. Oh, totally. Which I just don't tell people that very often. And a well-tied chironomid, I think, is one of the prettiest flies out there.
Yeah, a box full of those is.
Oh yeah, it's costly too. Once you look at how many you have, and you're like, I still haven't caught anything with them. But yeah, I do that. I do streamers, like trout streamer stuff, and then saltwater.
Yeah. Well, by looking at your Instagram page, seems like the bigger stuff is kind of more where your heart is.
I love it.
The articulated streamers are beautiful. And flat wings. You tie a lot of flat wings too, I see.
I do. That's one of my favorite things as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
What got you started with those? Just the local fishery, the cutthroats?
Yeah. My old boss who owned Avid Angler, he used to run the fly fishing school in the Cape in Massachusetts for a while, and the Orvis school, I guess it was. And so he came back having learned from Ken Abrams originally how to tie flatwings, and he brought him back to Seattle and started doing classes back there. And so we scaled them down to make them different sizes for sea runs and accommodate, because the striper stuff was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? So now I only use the short feathers on every rooster saddle, and everyone else only wants the long ones. So, although I will say I did make, I made $460 selling 4 feathers to a strip club owner in Guam when the feathers were happening. So I did get to get rid of some of those big ones.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because they're so not looking at their hair. At that point, unless they were putting them somewhere else, I have no idea.
When that whole craze started is when I tried to start a fly shop, and I called Tom Whiting, and he was like, "Sorry, buddy, we're not selling to fly shops." And he explained it, and he explained why, it's kind of the American Idol craze. And we obviously don't tie dry flies in Charleston.
Yeah.
So I had all these capes, and same thing. I made a lot of money selling single strands to the salons. They were selling $25 a piece, and I was selling for $15. So I kind of, but then I couldn't get any more. So it was kind of,
then we were screwed. All the RLS saddles were gone. And there's a lot of really angry girls, super angry girls that would call the shop like all day long too. When I was working there, it was super.
Oh, they would come in too. And it was, thankfully that didn't last too long, but.
Yeah. You could, the telltale way to tell with half the people was that our cash drawer at the shop reeked of weed. It smelled so much because these girls would come in, and like 2 or 3 of them worked at like a salon, but obviously they had extracurricular activities going on. Sure. We could always tell if our saddles were like being sold that day because of how bad it smelled in the cash register.
Like, I swear it's not the staff.
I know, totally. It is Washington.
Yeah. So you tie a lot of the Game Changer stuff too.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
That's I couldn't sit there and tie a bunch of them, but just because they take so long. But I've never tried to share a screen, but I'm going to try it for anybody that's watching. This is a picture of one of your flies that just intrigued me.
Oh.
Let's see if I can see it here.
It's working.
You don't want to see my email though. Where'd it go?
I don't see it, so that's good.
How about you see?
The mantis.
That thing is crazy.
That one was a fun one. Every year I try and improve on my mantis shrimp because I know there's got to be a perfect way to do it out there.
Yeah. For people that aren't watching, this thing's hard to describe. It's I don't know how big it is. You said it's on a 6/0 hook, so it's a pretty big, probably 6-inch fly, maybe. At
least, I would say 8 inches.
I mean, possibly. It looks like a gay zoo exploded on this thing. There's every color, and it looks perfect to that one on the top. How long did that thing take? This
one took me about an hour. It took a while. And I'll never be in a position to fish that thing. Like, that's the part is that I tie one a year trying to improve on it. And they're just gonna go. One of them's in a potted plant up here just because I took a picture and threw it in the like the pot, and just left it there.
Some of them get a little too bulky to even try to cast. I've tied some giant ones. I'm like, man, why did I even tie that? There's no way I can cast that ever.
Totally.
Blaine could cast it, but there's no way I could do it.
Yeah, some people can't. There's no way I could either. So
well, Brita's,
I don't know. They look great.
Brita's Instagram is at cfly907 if anyone wants to check out those flies while they're watching. They're truly amazing.
Thanks.
So if you had your day off, you weren't guiding, how would you be fishing? Would you be walking the beaches or hitting a stream, or what would you
if I do? Couldn't travel immediately that day to go somewhere nice and warm and sunny, then yes, I just walk a beach. There's a lot of 2-legged and 4-legged weird things in our woods in Washington.
Right.
So I don't do rivers anymore. It's not worth my time. Like beaches are my go-to way to go. Plus you could constantly I could fulfill my ADD need and just be wandering up and down the beach and looking at different things. And it's just fun.
Be kind of blind casting, tossing out lines, or sight
fishing? None of it. It's rarely sight fishing.
Yeah. So intermediate lines and
intermediate lines, and even if you see a fish that jumps, they're just jumping to be assholes. I found they don't actually you never get that one that jumps in front of you.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun though. Sometimes you could see him if you're in the boat. You could see him and cast to him and strip and retrieve. But usually, if you could see him, you'll screw it up anyway. So you might as well just blind cast and hope they eat.
So I saw your boat. You have a dog you take on the boat.
Oh yes, Lemmy.
Yeah, Lemmy. That's
Yes.
that's great. We had when COVID started, we adopted a kind of a shop dog to keep
Oh
around.
yeah.
That dog, you can't keep it off the boat. Got the
Oh yeah.
same little life jacket too. So you can scoop her back
Oh
in.
really?
Yeah. It's a funny
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
thing.
Ours. I was Justin and I were big Motorhead fans in the
Mhm.
80s. So he's the least tough dog in the world, named after like the toughest rocker out
Right.
there ever.
So
And yeah.
So Matt, you ever heard of Matt Slitsky? He's a bamboo
Yes.
rod guy. He
Yeah.
actually works with us now, and he has a Chihuahua named Lemmy after Lemmy from Motorhead. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome. There's 2 Lemmys then.
there's two after him. That's great.
Yep, and neither of them are tough.
Right. I don't know. He's pretty tough. He thinks he's tough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, ours is not.
you take him on the boat a good bit.
Yeah, he pretty much grew up on the boat because Justin guides full time off the boat.
Yeah.
And so he'll go out there. He still hates seals. He will, and then he'll roll in seal poop everywhere, all over the beaches.
Lord.
You can find it. It's disgusting. But otherwise, he's a really, really good dog for the boat.
Yeah.
So
your husband guides full time too, Justin Waters, right?
Yes. And obviously for good reason, I didn't take his last name because then I'd be Brita Waters and that'd be a little.
Oh wow, I never thought about that.
I know, I think weird enough comments with the first name. If I had that added on, it'd be like lights out.
Yeah, that would be a little odd. But how's he doing?
Unless I got money from Brita, the
right,
Brita
yeah,
company, then it'd
that's
be
true.
fine.
How's he been? Is he good?
Yeah, he's surviving.
Yeah,
you know,
the COVID obviously affected your guide business a good bit.
For sure, totally. Yeah, it's but there's still enough local people that keep it busy that are like, whatever, I don't really care. So
right.
Yeah, as long as we sanitize everything and mask up, we're good.
Yeah. So any big travel plans once it all lifts up, or y'all hosting any more trips?
He's doing trips to Florida, but I don't really have anything. This is the first year that it's been like, we did Christmas Island through Sage last year, which was
Nice.
super fun. It's great diet technique, by the way, in case you need to lose some weight. That's to go, because you'll regret it for like a week after, and then you feel great again.
Right.
So, we broke in the bathroom, one of my coworkers and I, we were able to actually talk to each other through the wall at the Delta Lounge. Those poor people are probably still regretting letting us into the Delta Lounge, because this was like on our way home, the last leg of the trip, and we were dying.
Oh no.
It was a rough trip, but other than that, the fishing was great. I want to go back.
Yeah, I heard the travel to get there is pretty rough.
It's pretty rough because you have to take Fiji Airlines and they don't let anything on. So you're like going through in the middle of the airport, flinging like bras and underwear and whatever else you can at other people to divide it into their luggage. And then you come back and they're like trying to divide out who's this what. And they're
right.
It just, usually you get it right, but.
Do you fly into Hawaii and then over, or straight in? Yeah.
We flew to Hawaii.
Mainly bonefish, or are you chasing GTs as well?
GTs, yeah. Triggers are my favorite thing.
Nice.
I will fish trigger fish till the cows come home. I don't really care about GTs or anything else at that point.
Yeah.
But it got really fun and comical because you get really good at running, having like one person run and try and jump on the hole so that they don't go back into their home,
Right.
and then you're screwed.
And they'll still eat. They'll still eat if you keep them out of like that.
Oh yeah, they'll totally eat. But then the first thing they do is beeline it back to their home, and then you're screwed if you can't. I mean, unless you want to wait for an hour, let the line go slack, and then hope that they come back out again with the fly in their mouth.
Right. I've only caught one, and it was in the Bahamas, and I was so excited I didn't really know what I was looking at, and then I figured it out. And I'd always heard, they're really hard to get to eat, or really hard to hook. And I made so many bad casts, but the worst my cast was that fish would turn around and go try to grab it, and rookie mistakes, and it was fun once we caught it. They are cool. That little trigger is amazing. How that it will not go down.
Yes, I got so excited every time I would see one. I was blinded to GTs. I was like, whatever. Everyone and their grandmother's trying to get them anyways. I don't really care about them, but I want it. So I focused on triggers the whole time, just about.
Nice. And there's several different species of them.
Yes, there's several. There's like the peach faced, or the yellow margin, or whatever the heck they call them, and then the mustache, or the Titan triggers. Yeah. And those guys they're all super fun.
Yeah, the one.
And then there's the little guys, the Picassos.
Which was the yellow one with the black? Is that the mustache?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool looking fish.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're so fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you said you did some trips to Florida as well?
Yeah, I've done hosted trips down to the Panhandle.
Yeah.
And done that. Yeah. And that's probably, so far, that's still my favorite place to fish for tarpon.
Yeah.
Is down there and Tallahassee, south of Tallahassee, that area, the Panhandle, and fishing for them there. I think it's a lot more user friendly just because the water's a little bit more colored up. You can see the shapes a little bit further out and have some good fuck up like 20 casts on the way, and the fish will still end up hitting it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun.
The pressure of the keys and all that too. Some of that.
Oh, totally.
Like the guide mentalities down there. Some of them is just a little.
Yeah.
It can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. It is funny because you could see like there's certain ones that every once in a while they'll be like, oh, here's what's his butt over from Louisiana now too, you know. Right. But it was good. I love fishing down there.
Yeah, Louisiana guys do the same thing when they come from Florida.
Oh, totally. So yes.
It's kind of a funny industry we're in.
Oh, totally. I did get to fish the Woodland Plantation as well. Nice. And that place is awesome. I mean, talk about gaining weight after that trip. I mean,
that's the Southern Comfort place, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's flowing freely.
It was flowing freely, and it was like they make these like biscuits every morning that are like awesome. Like all their food was awesome, but we were like hoarding them and like bringing them out with us. It's so good. The food there is amazing. It's almost better than the fishing, and the fishing was really good. Yeah,
Louisiana can get you in trouble on the heart department for sure.
Yeah.
When I guided here for redfish, I used to hate that. People would come in and be like, so have you ever caught a redfish before? And like, yeah, once. I'm like, oh, where were you? And they'll say Louisiana. I'm like, all right. So it's not as quite the same in Louisiana.
Totally.
They're not as big and you're not catch as many. It was a crazy place. We used to go.
You have to work harder for them though.
Where Louisiana?
No, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. And
it was pretty silly. It's all timing.
Yeah.
You know, you can go there too and get skunks, but who did you fish with at Woodlands? You remember?
Nicest guy ever. I'm not worried about him listening to this because he's like 150 years old. I want to say his name was Ray, but I'm not positive. He's the oldest person. So getting there, he drives a single cab Ford Ranger from like 1996. And he fits 3 adults in this Ranger every time to and from the launch.
Oh, wow.
And it was interesting because it's a stick as well. And the whole way there, you're like, oh God, it's like 5:30 in the morning and I don't
want to sit in the middle.
So weird. But yeah, we had a great time. I mean, talk about weight, like 5-pound flies. Those flies have like the extra large dumbbells, lead. Yeah. Like it's disgusting throwing those.
And they're so gaudy too.
Yeah, and there's no rhyme or reason to any of the colors except gold and purple and.
Yeah, we had traded trips one time. The first time I actually redfished Louisiana, we had traded trips with a guy and had never met him. We just knew we were going to go fish with him. It was when they did the IFTD in New Orleans. Yes. So we show up at the dock and I'm like looking at my buddy, I'm like, there's no way that's him, man. This really old man's walking up. And we were on the boat. It was a brand new Hell's Bay, so we knew it was a legit guy. And this guy walks up and we're like, oh man, it's August, it's dying hot. I've never seen or caught as many fish in my life as that coastal Louisiana, but it's definitely different.
Yeah, I really want a sheep's head and I didn't get one, but
we call those low country permit down here because they're so hard to catch.
Yes, those triple tail. If I see a triple tail or a cobia, I'm also just as excited as anything else. My mouth starts watering when I see triple tail swimming around.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't eat many fish, but cobia and triple tail, they'll generally take a ride home.
I love those things so much. Yes,
and they're so fun. You know, it's really no pressure. It's not like you're poling a flat, having to be quiet. You're just driving around looking for crab pots, and cobia will come find you. So it's really cool like that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'll bypass a tarpon that's coming past if I see a cobia coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So your plans with Rio, you all are coming out with new flies every year?
Every year, yeah. We're just trying to design as many patterns as we can to supplement the patterns that we already have, just because, as you know, there's only so many patterns that are free and open to take. The rest of them are either signature another company or something else.
Yeah, right. Everybody's got a Clouser or something, it kind of gets beat
up. Totally. So you can't really do that much with it. So
They are all really good original flies. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Do you tie them? Do you tie at home? Do you have like a little home studio, or do you go to an office?
Yeah. I have a disaster of a tying room and then a disaster of a tying table that has like vomited out of the room outside, and it's downstairs, and it's like a cave, and I've taken like all the little 3M hooks, the ones that you could throw on the wall. Not that I care what my wall looks like, really. And hung all the loon, like the wire loops. I've put all like my rabbit strip. They look like little chandeliers. They're all pretty now with like stuff all over them. Nice. And I hang them up on those hooks. And then, so my entire, like the wall is just covered in like loops of materials all over the place.
That's awesome. That's kind of the way to do it. If it's in a drawer, you'll never know it's there till you're done.
So. Yeah. It's funny though, because when Justin and I met, he's my second husband for good reason. The first one thought he fly fished. He sure didn't. But the second one, so Justin, I never had been with anyone who also tied flies. And I was like, holy shit, like I'd never realized that people like, you have to share materials. Like it gets mixed up. Like it was a first for me because I never had been, I'm sure guys maybe had been put in that position, but I hadn't really been put in that position much. But
stealing your bobbin and things like that.
Oh yeah, so I'll go sit down. I'm like, what the hell is this shit all over the place? He's like taken remnants of my stuff and like used it on some of his flies. So.
Yeah, that's a solid foundation of a relationship, though.
Starting
that way.
Yeah,
how long have y'all been married?
2 years now.
Nice. Well, congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll keep him.
Yeah. Is he still tying flies? Does he tie commercially as well, or more?
He ties commercially. He has some with Solitude. Okay. And just because, I mean, it'd be a conflict. I don't want to deal with him with Rio, even though he ties really good flies. Right. But yeah, he ties for Solitude, and then he'll steal my flies whenever he can, or try and get me to tie something for Rio to then be able to produce, so that he doesn't have to tie his own anymore. He can just buy them.
Yeah. Those squid flies. What's eating those?
So I've caught kings out in the salt with those.
Okay.
But most of like the really big ones that I post, those ones are done. It was like a special order for a guy a long time back that did stripers. And he's been, since then it kind of took off, and now everyone's been trying to special order those big ones.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what else, stripers, and people have gotten stuffed roosters on them, and mahi in Baja area with them. But I haven't gotten anything bigger than a king on them because I haven't really had the opportunity.
God, I would just buy one and put it under a black light. That thing's wicked.
They're so fun. I love playing with black light stuff and UV colors and like seeing how they show. I'm such a nerd with that stuff.
Yeah, those light boxes, once you start dealing with those things, it's quite fun.
Yeah, totally. It's like it's annoying though, because I'll sit there and I have to end up with like holding 2 or 3 UV lights on the outside of them because I don't have a bulb, which would be logical, right? And you have to sit there and like turn off the lights everywhere else, and then try and hold those other flashlights on. It's super annoying. But
yeah, are you putting a black light in there, or are you using like a UV lamp?
I'm using UV.
Yeah, makes it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I mean, if we had sunlight in Seattle, a lot of the times it would be a lot more useful.
Yeah, it looks sunny out the window now.
It is now. Yeah, this is the first sun we've gotten in like a month or something. It's been real bad lately.
Yeah.
Y'all
had any snow? I know a lot of the West is praying for it.
Here and there, but nothing that's stuck around. So
yeah.
Usually the beginning of February, we always have at least one good snow that screws us all for guiding for a while, and then it's fine again. So we haven't had that yet. So maybe we'll get out of it this year. I don't know. So
do you have clients all winter? Does it stay pretty busy for you guys?
Busy is negligible, I guess. Yeah, there's the hardcore guys, but it's cold and it's wet and it's windy, and it's a lot for like a 16-inch sea run or 5, so it's usually local people this time of the year. Yeah, so they know what they're getting into.
Right. We got big plans the rest of the day?
No, I'm gonna pretend to work for a little bit longer, and then that's about it. Yeah, I know, I got nothing else.
Me neither. I think I'm getting out of here soon, so
yeah. How long do you guys normally stay in here and do this? Is it just for like an hour or two every day?
For just the
Or
podcast?
you're just doing one podcast a day? I'm just curious.
No,
for
we
fun.
did two. I talked to Norbert this morning.
Oh, nice.
The guy in Ireland. And
Yeah.
we did Jesse Mails the other day. And we got
Nice.
a few lined up. So, and this is my fourth Zoom call. So it's all kind of new to me.
You said you never fished Washington?
No, I screwed up in college I guess basically to piss my parents off. I tried to go fish all 50 states. That was my goal. I was going to go fish all 50 states while I was in college. And I started with the harder ones first. I did Maine my freshman year. Then I went to Alaska my sophomore year, and it screwed me up royally. I just kept going back. And then everywhere else, I think that's 17 or 18 years I went there. Then kids can't go in that capacity anyway. But
totally. You need to get back out here. Weirdly, we get a lot of people now that like weed has become like legal out here. But we also, one of the funnier things is that we have, I'm going to totally get in trouble for saying this story, but I don't really care. Sorry, Caleb. But like we have these like dirty coffee shop or espresso stands out here. So they're like, a lot of them have gotten in trouble for prostitution, I'm pretty sure. But they all like have like, you'll go through, and sometimes you'll go through with like families and they're not like labeled as like Java jugs or something like that.
Right.
So you'll drive through and it's like just a chicken's like pasties or something. And it's horrifying, and they make terrible coffee. But they're one of the ones that are open really, really early.
Yeah.
And probably because they just left their night job, I assume. I have no idea. And I've had it before where I've had to, with different groups of guys that have shown up in the morning, because Starbucks doesn't open where I am until like 6.
Yeah.
If you're leaving earlier in the mornings, you're kind of screwed. Except the trashy coffee places. So like, and there's like 4 of those. So I had like one group, there was these guys, I'm not gonna narrow it down too much because I don't want to embarrass them, but I had a couple guys that were from Europe that were hammered right off the ferry. They had just come off a flight and they were just hammered. And I'm like, well, you could stop at like the dirty like coffee shop, or we could wait for like an hour of driving until we get to like a Starbucks that's open. They're like, oh, dirty shop, like all the way. So I had to drive through 3 separate dirty shops. They kept pounding them. They're like, this is the best thing ever. Let's go to the next one.
Oh, Lord.
So we go to the next one. And by the 3rd time, I'm just like the chick driving through with these creepy European dudes that are drunk at this point, right? By the 3rd one we get to is in Belfair, which is like an old logging town. It's like straight up Forks, like not really Forks, it's way worse than Forks. And it was like a lady that was like pushing 220 wearing a white t-shirt. And the guys were like, we've been robbed. Like, what happened with this one? And she was at the very end, she handed the guy, she's like, for an extra $20, you could hose me off.
Oh, no.
So they let these guys, I had to sit there and wait before I was guiding to have these guys go hose off this chick that was in this white t-shirt. That we and go fishing. Oh, for sure, totally. I think they paid her a lot more than $20.
Yeah, I'm sure all that coffee probably helped them later in the day too.
I think they caught like 2 fish that day. Those guys had no reflexes left by that point. So this is one of those things where I'm used to now knowing where these dirty coffee shops are, just because I have enough people that are like, hey, can we stop by one of those?
Right. Well, I know a large lady that for $20. That's great.
It was something I don't want to see again.
Have you seen those guys again?
I have. I've guided them a few times. Yeah, they're super nice guys. Yeah, right. They work for a local tech firm. Let's put it that way. So
there you go.
They come through consistently.
That's awesome.
We haven't encountered the same woman again over and over.
Right.
But probably for a good reason. I'm not sure she's still there.
Imagine the next customer, she's just standing there with a wet t-shirt,
I'm thinking she must have a bunch of dry t-shirts that she just keeps there. That would be the smart business decision.
That's very smart.
You never know. It is Washington, so you could probably just stand out in the rain and get away with it too.
Right. People start throwing 20s at you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I definitely need to get up there. It sounds great.
Yeah. Again, you just got to look out for the ones that have like boarded up windows, or ones that are called like Java jugs. Those are usually the obvious dead ringers for a dirty one.
And they're like the little, like a lot of times in the middle of a parking lot, like
always,
for 2 people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
and again, the coffee's awful.
Right.
They're not trained at all for their for their skills in coffee making or
Right.
hired for that. Yeah.
So if someone like me that's never been to Washington, when would be the best month to come? Best variety.
Generally September or October. I'd say October, because the weather's still somewhat nice. September and October have been the nicest months in the last 10 years or so easily in Washington. And it also puts the big migratory salmon in the water too. So even if you can't keep them, depending on whatever's going on that year, you can at least still catch and release them because everything eats the same flies that cutthroat eat.
Yeah.
So you could technically just target cutthroat and whatever you get, but at least you stand a chance that some of the big salmon come through, which are super fun.
And what size rods would you use for those bigger kings? 9 weights or 10?
So 6 weight.
Really? For the big ones?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you can't really ever really target them. You always get them every time on accident while you're fishing for cutthroat. The other thing is that we don't have we have deadheads and other logs and stuff out there, but there's not a ton of crap in the water. So you just got to let them run and hope that they don't spool you, really.
Wear themselves out.
Yeah. I mean, it's like screaming and yelling and running and jumping and God knows what else trying to. And usually I would say every third or fourth guy that hooks into one, or woman for that matter, actually lands it. It's pretty rough.
That sounds my speed. So
it's so fun.
That's awesome.
It's very fun.
And people, if they want to book you guys, they can find you on your Instagram. Is that the best way? Or?
Yeah, through the Instagram or through All Waters Fly Fishing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put links up at the end too, so people
sounds good.
Will know how to find you. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah.
And hopefully once all this clears up, we'll see you soon and we'll come fishing with you.
Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one. Tell Justin hey.
Thank you. I will. No problem.
Thanks
Bye.
So much.